India, unfortunately, the Laos is the blind capital of the world. I stood up and said India is going to conduct first ever T20 World Cup cricket for the blind. They're already smelling a million impact, and 80 years of productive life, you only get 4,000 weeks. Talk to 10 people in your network, but don't plan too much. I think just jump on it. Start now. Life cannot be just about yourself.
हेलो एवरीवन, नमस्ते। चलिए आज जिंदगी में एक नया तड़का ऐड लगाते हैं। सितारे ज़मीं पर मूवी बहुत अच्छी चल रही है ना, तो चलिए आज रियल लाइफ के आमिर खान से मिलते हैं। इन्होंने एक्सेंचर में एक 50 लाख की जॉब छोड़ के एक नया एक्सेलरेटर चालू किया है, जो कि उन स्टार्टअप्स को हेल्प करता है जो डिसेबल्ड लोगों के लिए टेक्नोलॉजी बना रहे हैं। वाई कॉम्बिनेटर का नाम तो सबने सुना है, लेकिन ATF वर्ल्ड का पहला ऐसा एक्सेलरेटर है जो डिसेबल्ड लोगों के लिए काम कर रहा है। इन्होंने बहुत सारे अवार्ड्स जीते हैं, बहुत सारी कमिटीज के मेंबर हैं, मैराथन भागते भी हैं, लोगों को सिखाते भी हैं, बहुत कुछ है इनकी लाइफ से सीखने के लिए। तो चलिए आज इनसे बात करते हैं और सीखते हैं कुछ नया। Prateek, welcome.
Thank you, Vilas.
So I know like you run ATF and this is something in the area of disability. So just want to understand a little bit about what exactly disability is. Is there like one thing called disability? There is multiple.
I mean, you can define and understand disability in many ways, but simply anything which functionally a human body is not able to do, which is designed to do, is disability. Now, our eyes are designed to see, but we both are instantly wearing specs.
Yeah.
So we have a disability, and hence we need certain devices, and which I'm sure we're going to talk about, to bring back the normal functioning of our eye. So in a way, everybody in the world has some other kind of disability.
What AssisTech exactly does? What exactly is the purpose of AssisTech?
See, we set up ATF, which is a Section 8 non-profit company, with a firm belief that technology can make a large difference in the life of people with disabilities. Technology makes it a level playing field for myself, you, and
Anybody
a person with visual impairment. So technology doesn't discriminate, while people do. The second most phenomenal thing I always believed about technology is that it can create that non-linear impact. Somebody created Uber, and that app is being used by millions of people to go from point A to point
scale
B.
to any level.
The ability of tech, which is this phenomenon, is true for the commercial or any other world. It is true for people with disabilities as well. To create one tech to help blind people move independently, and it can help not just one blind person. It can help millions of people with visual impairment. I'll give you an example. One of the big challenges of visually impaired people is the whole accessibility of document books. Have you ever thought, if kids with visual impairment, how would they study? We love sharing images and forwards and whatnot, documents on WhatsApp. If I have visual impairment, how would I access and read through that?
I never thought about that.
In India, unfortunately, the Laos is the blind capital of the world. This is not the accolade which we want to have, ever as a country. But we're talking about at least 31 to 40 million people in India who have some other kind of visual impairment. They just have no opportunity to learn, earn livelihood, and anyway, enjoy what you and I enjoy. Now, this is the problem statement, but let me tell you the good news.
Good news, yeah. What's the solution?
So there's a set of innovators. They came to us by developing a tech which essentially is now developed as a device called Kibo, knowledge in a box. Imagine it being a lamp kind of a device where you can put in any book, any document in any language. So you put in a book and Kibo starts reading to you real time. Just click, scan, and it is a device which person with visual impairment can manage on their own. Imagine what it can do for people with visual impairment. They can have access to anything you and I have. Kids with visual impairment can sit in a normal class, have Kibo. Kibo is now present in Indian Parliament.
Oh, nice. I just wonder, like, you used to work in the corporate world, and then you have right now switched into this, quote unquote social world. That the life must be very difficult. The whole day that of your life is also very different. The people you meet, the challenges that you. So, what made you make this change? Was it easy? Was it like it was always your calling, and you had to or this was some point in time that you actually thought that no, I must do this?
The reason I'm smiling is because I love my days. There are so many dimensions of days at ATF where I get to work with so many amazing people with disabilities. I get to work with startups, government, companies. We're talking about to a lot of folks globally trying to see what technologies that they have discovered and made and what innovations we can bring to India. Now, if I go back 15 years, 2009 is when I moved back to India, and I started volunteering at different organizations, and I explored. I started volunteering in 2009 onwards in different nonprofits, and honestly, those nonprofits were on the way back from office to home, so it's very convenient. Nothing is by design. A lot of it is serendipity. Nonprofit happened to be disability focused. I didn't like strategically chose to be in disability. Nothing of that sort. Unlike we believed in, they were very happy people. Second, not always they needed money. Not always they asked for money. One of the biggest fear we have is if you go to non-profit, they'll ask for money and you'll have to cut a check or whatever. I think in some case, yes, they need money, but not always.
I see.
Third, I think all they needed is a little bit of guidance, a little bit of encouragement, care. More than initially I was able to contribute, I was learning phenomenally. And simple, basic tenets of life. How do we just be happy? In the daytime, I would go to corporate and you do what you were supposed to do, but there are a lot of complaints and stuff like that. And then I would, in the evening on the weekends, spend time with people with disabilities, going to this nonprofit. And I said, this is two different worlds, but totally different than what I thought. People with resources shouldn't be complaining. People with no resources should be complaining a lot. But it's totally reverse. And I said, what is it that I'm experiencing? I got into an organization which eventually I joined, like you mentioned in the intro, Samarthanam, and they at that time used to manage Indian blind cricket. I don't know if you guys have seen blind people playing cricket with a white ball which makes sound.
Because of you, I have seen one match there.
Correct. Yes.
Very different to see how people are playing without the ability to see the ball properly. They're just by hearing the ball, they're hitting the shots, and it's all international match going on between international teams and all.
Think of blind cricket has three kinds of visual impairments: B1, B2, B3. Just quickly, B1 is 100% blind. B2 is a person who can see up to 3 to 4 meters, and B3 is partially sighted, which can see up to 6 meters. Not everybody is 100% blind, but they have some form of some level of visual impairment. And we joke in blind cricket that blind cricket match actually can be played in night without lights, isn't it? Because you play with a ball which makes sound, and anyway, nobody's expected.
I think it's just for the viewers.
Correct, but you can't. And you know why?
Why? Because the umpire is there.
Because the umpire can't see. That's just because of the umpire we can't play blind cricket in the night. Now think of it. 2012, when I was graduating, from AM Calcutta, is when the founder of the organization called, and he was attending the annual general body meeting of all the blind cricket playing nations in Dubai, and he said, Prateek bhai, no nation, 10 countries represented, including me from India, was attending the meeting. So I stood up and said, India is going to conduct first ever T20 World Cup cricket for the blind. I said, what? What did you commit? I said, yeah, I committed. I said, when? Like 6 months from now. I graduated, sitting in this small room where 40 people with different kinds of disabilities. So everybody's telling Prateek, ground mein itna lagega, dresses itna lagega. And I'm seeing this total going on, increasing. Night, 1 o'clock, when we closed the meeting, this total was 8 crores. So in 6 months, we as an organization had to conduct a first ever T20 World Cup for the blind and generate crowds. We did. We went out. BCSA said no. A lot of corporates said no, but then we were able to do it. Government of Karnataka helped, several other corporates. They had great aspiration. Imagine a person with visual impairment committing that we're going to do a World Cup with no backing, no resources on ground. We did that World Cup. 10 countries or last participated. India won the World Cup, and I think while that gives you joy, better joy is we beat Pakistan in final, which is always added pleasure to all the Indians. But anyways, I think those years gave me confidence. And long story short, again, I was trying to experiment with a lot of technologies. I went to Microsoft, I went to different other corporates out of my interest. I talked to a lot of people, and I started saying that can the same tech can be used to help people with impairment? And what I started realizing is these two phenomena that it can, but how? Because there was no ecosystem. I ended up taking a role as a CEO in Samarthanam, a few years later. That's when I had taken a sabbatical from Accenture. So we did ended up creating in that 1 year 15 center of skilling for people with disabilities. We started a lot of rehabilitation based program. We set up school for intellectually disabled kids in those years. We also created science lab in their primary school, which were inclusive science labs as well. Because I was sitting as a CEO of the organization, and people also saw me that I could talk business language probably a little bit. I also understood technology, not to a great extent, but I could
better than
converse.
others.
A lot of innovators started coming
Acha.
who were building solutions for people with disabilities. And there is one instance which I should describe to you. There were two very young kids who came to me and they said, Prateek, we have built this app which will help blind people walk independently. And I said, Chandru, idhar aao. Chandru, इस ऐप को थोड़ा टेस्ट करो. Okay, Chandru is who? Chandru is 100% blind. He doesn't know who's sitting in my room. He goes around and comes back and said, Sir, ये काम नहीं करता है. So imagine two kids who left their corporate jobs, techie, very passionate because they had seen some of their cousin or a friend who has some visual impairment, trying to change his life and lives of millions of people, coming, develop the app, but it doesn't work. You know why? Because they never consulted a blind person anyways. So hence, typical 101 of startups and innovators where they're passionate, they build brilliant tech, but it is of no use. What's the phenomena I was seeing? And I was speaking to multiples of them, is where I realized that if we can help some of these innovators scale their solutions, they can change the life of people with disabilities significantly. And that's where the force multiplier phenomena can come in. I think what worked well for me is I continued to explore. I had a lot of people who were guiding me at that time as well.
What I have understood is that you did your volunteering, you got in touch with those people, you understood that their lives is much different, they're much happier people, not really demanding so much, and that kind of put you more and more into that world, and that's how you realize that okay, the tech is helping them and how you can. So let's say you did give me one example, but why this accelerator then? Like they are already, they can do, what are the different things that you as an accelerator help them, apart from let's say and accessibility to let's say disabled people to test their app out, or how to give them, let's say, I don't know, funding or investors and things like that, or what exactly does an accelerator do in this area?
So see, I'll go back to the example which I was giving. This company which built this app for mobility, independent mobility for blind people. The tech was good. People were very passionate. But the fundamental thing is they never consulted people with disabilities. Number two, I can build the best tech in the world which is useful. But how I'm going to make it available to people with disabilities? 70% of people with disabilities in India live in rural areas.
How do you market, or
How do you market?
awareness?
Third thing is these are great technologies. They are amazing tech innovators. But journey of an innovator to a entrepreneur is very, very long. That's where they started realizing that tech is just 20-30%. How are you going to market access? How are you going to monetize it? This is also a unique field or last where you're building a product for somebody who can't pay for it. Typically, isn't it? I mean, not entirely true, but majority you'll find users.
Yeah, they're
who
not
can't
like
pay.
the richest people on the planet.
Right. And hence, how are you going to solve the whole monetization? What's going to be a business model for that? How are you going to scale it? I can build the brilliant tech sitting in Bangalore, but how are you going to implement it in some rural town in UP? And if you're building a hardware, how are you going to service it? And hence, if you see, there are a suite of challenges that these startup entrepreneurs face, especially in assistive technology, because I think they have added challenges of the sector itself. Adoption is an issue, availability is an issue, affordability is an issue of assistive technology, and hence we needed a platform. Hence we needed a organization which can help such entrepreneurs.
I see. So there are like a group of people come together who help in different areas to these startups. So that's
Correct.
how I see.
So we have access to government,
Hmm.
because government can be the best buyer or the
Hmm.
largest buyer.
Hmm.
We have access to corporate organizations,
For the CSR type of
CSR,
activity.
who
Okay.
can fund. We actually have to work with corporates anyways, because they want to hire more and more people with disability, and they want to make them productive, and hence some of these assistive
Hmm.
technology innovations can be
Helps them.
useful as well. Yeah. So all this help is available now as we speak. We have built a great ecosystem of 450 innovators and startup in the country. And imagine, while we started with 10, 15, 6, 7 years back, there's so many people who are innovating to help people with disabilities.
That is great. That is great. I think I read some statistics somewhere that you've helped like or impacted like 5 lakh lives so
Yeah, so
far.
that number we just did a survey has reached 9 lakh. So
9 lakh lives
9.1 lakh.
impacted.
Yeah, so we are already smelling a million impact. And
I just wonder like you have lived let's say 10 years of your life and you have plunged yourself into this, but there are everyday people who also have something in their heart to do something around kind of which can impact other people who are not as blessed as they are in some form or the other, but they're always like, but how will I do it? I have this whole full-time job also, I cannot commit my whole time. What is your message to those people? Like how can a person really contribute if the desire is there, but there's always some kind of an inhibition is there?
yeah, I think I have faced this as well, Lars. So nothing new. If you're feeling that way or anybody is feeling that way, I think it's a good news, because at least you're beginning to think about it.
That empathy has
Right. So,
started.
but two three suggestions. Volunteer.
Hmm.
And when I say volunteer, it's a great role you would play, because, but you have to make sure that you are committing certain amount of time at a sustained basis as well. Volunteering is not, this is when I find time, and one weekend you go or other not. I think
So
that's not going to work. So
consistency
more
has to be there.
consistency. Don't see this as an opportunity where it's only you will contribute. Believe me, a lot of time you will learn more than what you contribute.
You'll
That's
take
my
more than
experience.
what you give.
Absolutely. But don't plan too much. I think just jump on it. Start now. There's never a better time. Start this weekend, spend an hour. It doesn't work, go to a different organization. But I think slowly and slowly it will build it for you, as it has built for me.
I see. Yeah, that's a great advice. Just whatever is convenient that you can consistently do, start doing that, and
Don't
then
make big plans.
uh,
It doesn't work that way.
I see. And then there are other type of people who think ki, there is no cousin in my family or nobody in my immediate family is really disabled or has any challenge. Like this thought even doesn't come in my mind that I should go volunteer for such people. It's such like, is it a waste of my time? I can do much better things. I can watch some movies or go out with friends and all. Why should I even do that? Like what exactly? I know you said that once you go there is when you realize that okay, I am able to see some other aspects of life, but when I'm sitting at home or in my office, then what is it like? Any message to those people who don't think too much about all this social side of the world?
Yeah, I mean, and I think not everybody has to do it. I mean, it's perfectly okay if you're perfectly fine with your life where you're doing a corporate role, and in your free time, obviously, family is around. There's always something to watch. I don't think you should go on a guilty trip that I'm not doing anything.
Mhm.
But if some of these thoughts are beginning to seep into your mind, and I've heard different versions of it, what's the purpose of my life?
Mm.
Can I be useful? I'm getting bored. What more I can do? Disability is one of the fields at last. Not everybody has to contribute. There are larger issues of street children. There are women-related issues in the world. There's climate coming in
Something
as well.
selfless.
Selfless. Particularly in disability, I must tell you, and I might be very brutal in saying that disability can happen to any of us,
Mm.
isn't
Yeah,
it?
in a day.
Yeah, all of us are getting older, and one of the
Yeah, while you're
market.
going home, who knows?
Don't think that it cannot happen. Don't think you will never have any of the issues in your close circle as well. And if I can be just helpful to one person in life, that's great as well.
So I know you have done this whole new startup and there has been a journey around it, and not just in the social world but otherwise also, like people have so many ideas but then they kind of remain at the level of idea only. How does one transition that into something real, something impactful, something that really sees the light of the day? Because you have done that, And I'm sure you must have also had many ideas, but this one is the one that you zeroed in and you actually took it to this place.
I'm going to share my personal experience. There are hazard ways. Number one, I mean, today, my observation is there are ideas are a dime a dozen, but real crux is how do you really, like you said, implement it, test it out. And I think one thing which I've always found useful is if you have an idea, write it down. It doesn't have to be fancy presentation. Talk to 10 people in your network, get their feedback. That's where the reality check will happen. I'm sure you would have done a lot of secondary research anyways to why your idea is beautiful and why it should work. Where are the gaps as well? But you will validate with 10 people, you will get a lot of feedback. That's number one. That's what I did. I made a presentation, 5 slides, still have it 6, 7 years back. And then I went to 5 people whom I thought will give me a very candid feedback. They'll not just say, "Hey, great idea, Prateek."
Great, just go ahead, do it.
In fact, all 5 of them probably would have given me something to think about, and then I went back and say, "Okay, it can be refined well." So that's number one. Second thing which I personally did some other activity during the week without fail on that idea, because what happens is, how do you make progress? In a human lifetime who lives 80 years of productive life, you only get 4,000 weeks. And hence, if you don't make that progress every week, it could be meeting somebody, it could be spending time in market research, it could be refining your idea, any of the activities, but there's some activity,
some progress
some
is to be,
progress
not
has
just
to be.
ruminating on your
Correct.
idea.
Because when you write it down, when you talk to people, when you explore, when you submit your idea in some competition, whatever, you made progress. And I think when you start making progress in terms of activities, a lot of start getting materialized. I have seen in some cases it's great that you close that idea, it's not possible. That's a great outcome as well. But you just thinking weeks and months that is a great idea and don't take it out is not so productive.
Okay. So start implementing, start talking to people, getting feedback, and making
Correct. Write it
progress
down.
on
What did you do this week? What did you do last week? What did
Mhm.
you what are you going to do next week? And I think all of us have time, corporate roles to do that. There are always some, weekends to spend time on. And if you're not committed to make and do some activities, it nobody else is going to do for you anyways.
Then perhaps you're not passionate that much about that idea
Yeah,
anyway.
and that's okay. That's
Then
okay. But
think
make
about
that
something.
decision. Make that decision sooner rather than later.
So you talked about these startups facing some challenges, which ultimately, when they come to the accelerator, you have a group of people who can help them with that. But were there any challenges that this group of people, this accelerator itself faces in terms of, I don't know, money or clients or how to market itself? Sure, you have done it in your other part of lives, but how do you do it with these people, with this technology, with this product?
There are challenges every day, and I can tell you I love all of them. The first of our challenges was awareness, understanding and awareness about the assistive technology innovation and startup itself was poor. The second is that there were not enough entrepreneurs. And if there were entrepreneurs and innovators, they were only innovating for visible disabilities, so like physical disabilities, visual impairment. But what about invisible disabilities, which is
Like?
kids who have learning disabilities, autism spectrum, and neurodiversity, neurodevelopment issues as well. Now, you can see a person absolutely normal from outside, but he or she might have, be on spectrum of neurodiversity and autism and stuff like that. And hence, we've done some work to really build up an ecosystem of innovators who are also now trying to focus on the invisible disabilities. Yeah, because then one, there's marginalization of disability, but within disability
There
we
is
are
also
seeing a
marginalization.
spectrum. Third, we started realizing is that as an organization, we need to see yourself not just an accelerator who's helping the tech startup, but build an organization which is more of an ecosystem enabler. And hence, we had to widen our network, widen our reach, widen our collaborations and partnership with, like I said earlier, 6 dimensions. So see it as a hexagon. So we have to work with government, which is both state and the state, central
Center.
government. Then we work with corporate organizations on technology mentoring, on CSR, on helping them recruit people with disabilities. There's a venture side of corporates and all that, so on and so forth. We work with large community of people with disabilities. We work with experts. We work with educational institutions, which we found very useful as partners because a lot of innovations, a lot of research going on. So we had to expand our partnerships like IT with Delhi, IT Madras, and VIT, and um, next, we build a network with global partners. We also know that apart from establishing ATF in India, we also established a global alliance with 6 other countries, and we found that whole alliance, which is called Plus, an inclusive innovation network. Hence, we found partners in Australia, New Zealand, Kenya, Canada. Essentially, what I'm trying to do to say is that we have to expand our thinking. The last challenge, which I think continues to be a challenge, is funding, because I think we are in a very non
Lucrative
attractive,
business.
non-lucrative. We are not a, for the matter, e-commerce ecosystem, not a
And it's
retail
not for
tech. It's
everybody also.
not
It's
for
it's a
everybody.
little limited audience.
Limited in the sense that the awareness is limited, Ullas, because
Ah,
in India we're talking about 80 to 90 million people with disabilities. In the
it's
world
a
we are
huge
talking
market.
about 1.1 billion people with disabilities. And it is not just in India, it's just globally. We have seen that the funding in terms of investment in assistive technology, investment in accessibility is very, very less. And that's something which ATF is working on. Hopefully in next 5 to 10 years, we will see accessible cities, we'll see accessible transportation, we'll see accessible travel, we'll see accessible equal opportunities in employment, we'll see accessible education.
Looks like networking is a lot of huge part of what you do, and making sure that so in general also, what do you feel about connecting with people and all? Sometimes we feel like we are good at what we are doing in our own siloed world. Is that good enough, or you think one should actually venture out and meet, and like what are the ways that looks like you have met with a n different type of people, right? Government se leke corporate, and to investors and to technologists and what. So how have you been able to connect with so many people? And I'm sure it's not like a one day job, but
Yeah.
how have you been able to do that? And what's the importance of quote unquote networking?
Yeah, so let me tell you, I mean, I think again, my perspective, why it is important. How are you learning? Our opportunities to learn has been through books.
Hmm.
How many books are we reading? All of us have aspirations to do all these online courses. How many
I
are we
really
able
do
to,
it.
how many are we subscribing and paying for, and how many are we
Finishing.
completing? Obviously, there's a lot of content available. But if you really see, evaluate your learning in past 1 month,
Hmm.
what did you learn? Okay, forget about a month, a quarter, a year. And if you have to write it down, what you learn and how you learn, you realize that not much. But one of the best ways I found to improve as a person and learn is by meeting different people.
Hmm.
Now think of a corporate environment; it's very homogeneous. Although there are brilliant minds, and
But they're all
people,
thinking in the
but
same
but
bent
their
of mind.
profiles will be similar. They would have done some technology study and business management and all that. The more heterogeneous circle you have, I mean, today if I ask you 5 people who interact with Delhi life, you realize that they'll have same or similar profile. More number of people you meet, more diversity, diverse profile you meet, I think there's something which you will learn. And I am telling you, I am the first beneficiary of creating, some of this ecosystem in ATF as an organization, because I've met most phenomenal people. I've had another thing which we realized today, we say is life is about experiences.
But how do you go about networking? Like I cannot just go start. What exactly is there any kind of a small
Not,
cheat sheet you have?
no, I have no cheat sheet. It's a hard work.
And
But
I remember once you had told that networking is not about just taking; it's also about
giving.
like
Yeah,
what
no,
can you
exactly.
contribute.
Networking, a lot of people think LinkedIn, virtual or digital networking versus more in-person networking is about taking. I think it's totally wrong. Networking is about first giving. What can I give it to the community? Now, it could start with you pursuing or, starting up your passion which you had, which you stopped. That could be a venue of networking. There are a lot of events that happen. If you live in tier one cities, there are a lot of events that happen. So it could be passion driven, music, art, theater. That's an avenue of
Hmm.
networking. It could be fitness. I think you have to just get out of your house, keep a count on how many new people, how many hours you spend out of your initiative, how many new people. And if you start maintaining a diary, you start realizing that there are so many avenues to start networking.
So you have to basically make a plan to do it actually, and kind of measure it.
Measure it, and yeah, start doing it like I said earlier, and don't judge yourself. You'll
Hmm.
there I'm sure there'll be events and they'll say what a waste of time, and that's okay, because then, but don't get depressed by going to just one event and not enjoying it. I think you're going to 10 and say it's okay. I'm sure you see 10 movies, you don't like all 10 of them anyways.
Do you ever feel dejected or some kind of like, oh my god, this is a tough problem, we're trying to solve it for a long amount of time, it's still not happening? Now, how do you deal with such type of situations? Because in corporate lives and all, such situations are there. Sooner or later there is a big team, you figure some technology thing out, you change some kind of a requirement itself, or you figure something out. Here it is like real world, and you're dealing with governments and all, and which is always in a flux, and people have different motives and all. You like, how do you ever get into such a situation, and how do you come out of
I
that?
can tell you, I bang my head on the wall 10 times in a day, because challenges are only increasing. As you explore more this world of assistive disability tech, you start realizing that you have a new set of challenges as you've probably taken care of it. I mean, again, the philosophical answer to that is, that you're making difference in life of people with disabilities, somebody who probably who did not get those opportunities. So smile at the end of the day is for the work which you did, and somewhere that it's making a difference.
You keep always that vision in your mind, at the back of
Correct.
your
I think
mind.
there has to be a larger vision. And when you start dealing with these challenges, not everybody will get solved in one day. Not everything you will be able to solve personally as individually. Not everything that you'll be able to solve as an organization. And that's where you put your mind. Like, I mean, yes, there are days where you would wonder, is there going to be another day at ATF? There are days where you say, oh, you know what?
This long road
It's
to.
it's 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 working well. The startup which I told you about, Kibo device, is helping 100,000 people. The first startup is now present. That whole thing is present in some 12 to 14 countries.
So, and to start with, you think local, or you think like this tech we are going to take global, and then, even if you were to think global things built for India, do they really translate well in international markets, or what is, and not just in your area. Let's say if I am trying to build a new startup and all, then should I think local, or should I think that one day I should actually go international?
I think vision can be global, but your execution initially has to be local, because you have less resources. Local is something which is
Easy,
doable. You
relatively
have to
easy.
still prove that the solution work
Hmm.
in the context of your, the target audience or target market segment. I think it's good to start within the community,
Hmm.
but obviously nothing stops you making it a global solution or a company.
So just switching a little bit of a gear and coming to your personal life, I know you run a lot, and earlier you used to run for marathons. Now I know you've started coaching also. I'm sure since I've last met you, you must have started doing something else also, because there's always new things going on in your life. But I want to understand, what does marathon learning or running impact you as a person? That is one. Coaching people to run their marathons is another challenge, I'm pretty sure. Like, tell me about these two worlds. Why did you first of all ran a marathon yourself, and what is the benefit of you teaching others?
So, I mean, again, running is a beautiful sport. It's such a simple sport, Alas, that all you need is lace up for something and then just start running. Um, Initially starts with a goal of being personally fit. Running or any other sport is that it gives you so much of joy. If you're running in a forest area, for starting at 5:30 a.m. in the morning, the wind is amazing. It's fresh thoughts in your mind. You've slept, so it's a lot more fresh in terms of the body and the mind. Nobody to talk. Don't carry mobile. So you're just running on your own. There's so much thinking you can do while running. Clarity comes in. I personally have been benefited because I've taken a lot of significant decision in my life. Call it crazy to shift from a corporate to this thing during running, and I can always go back to saying that why would you do it? Why would you join? Okay,
Oh,
there's
so
an
that decision was also
yeah,
made while you were
absolutely. You
running.
get clarity because
Yeah, that time you don't have anything else
any
going
other
on. So that's
distractions,
the.
and say things like what's your purpose, which is uh, do you want to do this only when you're 60 and retired? And that life doesn't make sense to me. We want to do it when would you take such assignments to be CEO of a non-profit where you have to work 24 by 7? Not when you're 60 and you want to retire. You want to do it when you are hale and hearty and you have a lot of energy and thoughts and connects, and you're relevant to the industry then, isn't it? And but when how do you take those distances? When I think some of these things which will start happening to you. Also, what happens to you is you're running in a community. I'm part of a running club. So you meet, again, to the point earlier, people who are different to you. Heterogeneity, again, when you're running, you're traveling together, carpooling, you're having breakfast, post runs together, a lot of exchange of thoughts and learning. So that's the benefit of running marathon, probably running, fitness plus plus. Why you start training people who want to run their full marathon, which is 42 kilometers, is I think it's just for the same reason to the last, that the purpose of life cannot be just you. And if you can be helpful in sharing your knowledge, and all of us have gained so much in professional, personal world. And I think the happiness there is if you can be useful to anybody, you can volunteer to share your skills and experiences. And I have had runners coming to me saying that I have joined the club. I forget about running. I can walk. I don't walk 100 meters. And in 3.5 years, they were running 42 kilometers.
Wow.
So I've seen transformations. I did nothing. It's credit to them to be able to start from nowhere and to take up the task and aspirations and put big number on the wall. And running 42 is not easy. You go through ups and downs, and training is hard, and you have to take so much of time and all that.
So what has been the most fulfilling thing, like this professional part of it where you are helping these people, or this kind of personal part where you are being just yourself, doing your own marathons or teaching people, or some other experience that you have? Like, what has been the most fulfilling aspect of your life?
I think the most fulfilling experience is a common theme, Malas, that I feel good that I'm able to help somebody.
I see. This way or that way.
So ATF, startups, people with disabilities, fitness, running, coaching, or anything else you do, you're able to help somebody, and you're able to spend time through which you're be of use to somebody, and they're able to progress in life.
I think this comes only once you do that, then you realize that feeling. Otherwise,
Absolutely.
just sitting on the fence, it's always like, why,
And
why,
it's
why?
experiences. Every day is a new experience. Every situation is a new situation. Every challenge is so new. And I think if you were to say, do you want to do hard things and be remembered to that you're able to contribute, help solve those problems? Absolutely, yes.
So I know you're a loving father and a caring husband and all, and you do so many things, and you wake up like in the night only, perhaps like 3:30, 4 o'clock. Like, how do you manage your family also? Because there is only 24 hours in a day, and you're doing ATF, which takes, I don't know, maybe 18 hours of your day, and then this running takes, and then your kids go to school, and then there is your wife. Like, how do you manage all those aspects of life? There's then people talk about work-life balance and all that. What is your take on
By
that?
the way, correction, there is now I have a college-going daughter, not a no more
School
school-going daughter.
Nice.
But anyway, that's on the sides. No, I mean, like you said, everybody gets 24 hours. I think it's about balance, which you have to live every day. You have to be sharp, when you have to be ruthless sometime, because if you're not ruthless in terms of choosing, I probably say more no's than yes. And I think that's a biggest learnings, being in ATF in the social sector, because if you continue to say yes to everything which opportunity, even opportunities, then you landing up nowhere. The good thing about being an entrepreneur is that if you have to be at a PTM Monday morning 9 o'clock, you can be
You
there.
can be there.
But the follow is that you work 24/7, and I think that just
It's a mix of both.
it's a
Yeah.
mix of.
No, but do they understand exactly what you do? I know your kids have, like, now they're not small kids as such, but do they understand what you're doing and why you are doing that? Because sometime or the other, kids would always, like, some may complain that, Papa, you are not here when we need you and all that. So do they understand what
So
you're
one
doing?
thing which is I've tried doing from the beginning when I started going to these nonprofits is that if I have a couple of hours of meeting and all that, I would take my kids in, and they'll play around. So it's
They'll
not
get
that,
exposed to
yeah.
the.
So I don't want to be sitting and taking a lecture how important it is to help people with disability. I think that era of father teaching a kid is over, passed over. they have short span attention span, and a lot of other things which I think all of us know. I think expose them, include them to experience what you're experiencing, if not all the time, sometime. Share with them the challenges. It's not all the fancy stuff, all the good stuff. Share with them it's okay to fail. It's share with them that it's okay to take up difficult things, and take more time to figure it out. Sports is a great way of you know teaching them, probably, how to fail and lose a match and fail at marathon and still smile at it, and again prepare for it. So again, these are big learnings, big words, but at the end of the day, I don't think a work life, uh, it's a era of work life integration. Um, and I think that works magically for anybody who approaches it that way, because then you are able to balance it out in 24 hours, and if not 24 hours, a week is a good frequency to catch up as well. I do take a lot of rest as well, as I
Yeah, you
sound
have
so
to. I think
busy, so
marathon.
busy. I have, when you run a crazy distances, or every Saturday, every Sunday, then you have
Yeah.
to take rest. But I think God has been kind to me that way, that I'm able to balance well. But yeah, more to learn, more to figure out.
So just to kind of bring this to kind of a logical conclusion, perhaps you have touched upon most of these things, but what have been your most two or three important learnings in your life that you would like to share with us?
Sure. I think one, happiness is the most important thing. No point living days and weeks of your life where you're not happy, frustrated, not worth doing. And happiness to me is every day.
Hmm. Not
Obviously,
sometime in the future.
you can't keep happiness in the fridge and say, next 3 years of my life, I'm not going to care for myself, not going to care for my health, not going to care for my family. I'm going to take this happiness out of 3 years after the refrigerator, and I'm going to live it. Not happening. Second, uh, life cannot be just about yourself. You can be useful to a lot of people. So, like I said, if you can help one person in a lifetime, that's great as well. But if you have an opportunity to help multiple others, in our case, we have set out a mission to help, while we are reaching a million impact, 10 million in the next 3 years. That that's a blessing. Be helpful to others. There's so many skills you have. Don't doubt yourself. And third, learning is life is short, and we don't have unlimited time. If you want to pursue a hobby, you want to learn a guitar, time is now. Best time was yesterday. The next best time is
Today.
today. There's so many people to help. Ask for help. Seek help. And I just shamelessly have gone and asked for help, and I start realizing there's so many people who are ready to help you. I think at the end of the day, when you uh, write it down, your summary of life, I think it's all going to be about experiences.
Yeah.
So have
Lot
as
of them.
many
Different varied
varied
experiences.
experiences.
Thank you so much, Pratik. This was so much fun. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much
I
for the
always, as always,
conversation.
I have learned so much from this conversation. I'll keep listening to this and see
Thank you.
how we can live more varied and heterogeneous life, how we can have better experiences.
No, thank you for the conversation. And it's not just me, we're all learning from each other, but thank you so much for
Certainly,
inviting.
certainly.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.